that project, as far as where I can see, has to be relative to a finance plan that we choose, perhaps one of these recommendations, the consistent way we're going to go forward with solving a $675 million problem of protecting the water resources, both drinking and estuary, in this town, period. So what I find phenomenally positive about this report in its most simplest form is that it addresses this problem as one whole problem, and that we're not, at least I don't think anymore, trying to look at wastewater and clean water protection in a piecemeal fashion, where we only look at Project X and then we look at Project Y, and everybody is being dealt with on a different set of numbers and a different set of charges and inconsistent approaches. As was said by Mr. Crow, we've had sewer in this town since 1937, and yet in 2010 we really don't have resolve on how we finance this most critical function. Yet, and if I may, I'd like to just make one little analogy in response to both Councilor Kennedy's point and Mr. Barry's point, Councilor Barry's point, is that, as was said, we don't educate a whole lot of kids from Cotuit anymore. But everybody in town pays for education equally. That, to me, is the most important, critical point. Everyone in this town and in towns across America realize that education is paramount. We have to educate our children. Cities and towns, no matter if you've got kids in your house or not, everybody pays the property tax. It's usually about 60 or 66 cents on every dollar that's paid in property tax in this town goes towards education. And yet, yeah, some people crow because they're second homeowner and that, like Mr. Ciolik said. But bottom line is everybody's pretty much settled on the fact that we all pay for that. Why is it so difficult for us to get ourselves to a point where we see our own flushing the toilet in the same way we see education? I just can't understand why this has been so difficult for this community. I remember at town meeting where these same arguments happened when Hyannis was seeing some of the earlier sewer projects. And other villages didn't even want to pay the amounts for the schools. For a period of time, there were kids from all over town flushing the toilet at Barnstable High School, and the only people that were paying for those toilet flushes were the people of Hyannis, the ratepayers. That's a historical fact of past sewer practice in this community. Councilor Gloria Rudman, who preceded me up here, made that fact clear at one of our big hearings that we had. So we don't have a good track record going in the rearview mirror on how we've fairly distributed the burden of making sure our water is clean. We don't have a good history in this town. So we should just admit that. We should all admit some guilt to that fact, and going forward, embrace the idea that this committee has brought forward, that 100% betterment is totally unacceptable, period. And what I'd like to ask a question on now is, in trying to really study these two